I'd like to start this show with a song. New you. It's something for each person to test for themselves to see if it connects you with real guidance and real education. Maybe 10 minutes before you go to sleep at night and 10 minutes in the morning. Anyway, to find out for yourself. Today, we have an interview with Andrew Bartzis. And I'll give you the bio that Dean Val of Nations United Universal University sent. And it says, Andrew Bartzis, transcendent teacher, shaman, and reiki master with the rare ability of being able to access the Akashic records of our planet and all this universe encompasses at will. Also known as a galactic historian, he's able to read and interpret individual, cultural, global, and galactic histories, past, present, and future, with everyone who's eager to learn. Just as if you would look through a clear glass of pure water, Andrew can read the Akashic records while in a fully conscious state, which means that he can read your records while fully engaging with you in a warm, light-hearted manner and sacred, neutral state. As an Akashic reader and master healer for over a quarter century, his goal is to help the world around him by sharing information from this sacred neutral state of no time, by bringing forth the power of contract revocations. He helps individuals reclaim their sovereign free will and find their way to peace, joy, and happiness. For indeed, that is what we all seek. So maybe to start with, David, you could tell us a little about what a transcendent teacher, a shaman, and reiki master, and the galactic historian words mean.
Hey everyone, how you doing today?
Great.
Thanks for being on. Thank you. So a transcendent teacher is one that takes teachings from many layers of perspective throughout history, not just one. Part of the specialty of what I do is I can create and connect to collectives of educated versions of myself, past, present, and future, and other versions of other people who are outside of time, suspending information for those that are seekers of knowledge, seekers of wisdom, on the journey to what I call the unlimited point of view. We live in a world that is limited, and the transcendent teacher is to transcend our limitations and our arguments for limitations so that we can achieve this unlimited point of view by starting with what's called a sacred neutral point of view, where the inside you, that is which is connecting to the allness of the universe and the many planets you've existed and coexisted on, as part of a perception and filter of information that expands your knowingness so that you can take something that is a 1 million or 2 million letter alphabet and translate it down to our 26 letter encoded English alphabet here. Very similar to light language translation, but this takes on new levels. You are past, present, and future simultaneously existing as an I, and I can connect over to hundreds of thousands of simultaneous existing worlds and create a collective of teachings from many points of view in many languages to help people on that journey to discover their own unlimited point of view and their own journey into experiencing the unlimited point of view.
Thank you. One other thing I wanted to ask is, by bringing forth the power of contract revocations, I don't know quite what those words mean, contract revocations.
So we all have spiritual contracts in our life. You're familiar with reincarnation, where you're constantly repeating. When you are a fetus in your mother's womb, you are in what's called the planning stage, where who your third grade teacher is going to be, who your first lover is going to be, when your life and death process is going to be. And we create spiritual contracts with beings like mothers, fathers, brothers, cousins, uncles, and people we may love or hate. And those spiritual contracts can often be repeated lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And when we become fully aware of our ability to choose, we know that in any moment when something is negative in our frequency and challenging us, we can, in the power of now, reclaim our ability to say, no, not in this moment of now, past, present, or future, will your negativity affect my being and my presence. It's a form of what's called the name it to claim it system. That which you claim in the moment cannot have power over you. The universe is not working against you. And in these now moments, we can greatly expand ourselves through the journey of prayer that includes the form of revocation of contracts, becoming aware. Like our government has a series of spiritual contracts with us when you're born. You have your foot stamped, you have a social security number, and so on and so forth. Those are all things that can entangle you into karmic reactions or put you in a situation where you cannot break out of a cycle. And the spiritual journey to reclaiming your authority to be a full sovereign being of choice. That is the essence of what contract revocation is.
Thank you, Andrew. I've got a question that I'll ask, and then we'll have other people talk with you too. I want to remind everyone that Andrew says that he doesn't want to address anything about flat Earth or about Jesus. So those are kind of off limits to deal with him. So I'll ask this question and see what you have to say about it. Why haven't humans been able to create a world without wars, disease, pollution, starvation,
so on and so forth? Well, the answer is they have,
right.
just not in this existing timeline that we're on. So we must understand that there are parallel realities of experience, and each time the utopian type world comes into existence, there is the dystopian opposite. And right now we are in this pendulum process of utopian, dystopian, utopian, dystopian. And it's about us in the individual moments of now who no longer want to choose the pendulum of experiences, and that we create our own sovereign bubble of reality that uses natural time, not Roman numeral time, or what I call fraud time. When we become spiritual beings, just like you've all experienced, you have a different inner sense of personal wealth that comes to you. And we want to be able to share this inner wealth. The world of the Great Awakening that we're in, or what I call the Great Dreamtime Awakening, is about sharing your individual awakening. But we must individually awaken first so that we can share the utopian presence day by day, week by week, that is no longer adhering to Roman numeral time. Roman numeral time is linked to the Babylonian money magic. It is linked to the fiat currency and all those other things that are depression, suppression, and regression of the human spirit. So utopia does exist in people's minds, but to get it to the next layer, we're a global society of individuals. We must shed off the concepts of full government interaction where we don't have our full sovereign choice. Here in the United States, we have 505 members or 510 members of the Congress and the Senate. We have over 380 million people. Even if we had 10% representation of 380 million people, there would be 3.8 million people in Congress and Senate. That would still not represent everyone's point of view. We must be able to transcend government as the limiting process so that a more utopian society could be based off the individual's needs who use their own sovereign frequency of time itself, where we're no longer sharing time based off of value and money that is connected to the human soul, that is in a spiritual contract to limit people.
Thank you again, Andrew. So I'll open up to anybody that has a statement or a question for Andrew. Who would like to start?
Yes, Andrew, this is Dean Val again, and I appreciate your answers. The first two were, okay, the first, we're kind of on the same wavelength, you could say. We have a different way of articulating it, but basically, if you remember, you were talking about, well, I'll just put it this way, pulling the unknown into the known, something that you can, something that's unknown, but you pull it into a way that people can relate to it. And that's what we're doing with our presentation, for one. And it's very difficult sometimes for people to relate to what is unknown, because they're relating to something literal and something that they know. But if I asked you, what is it that you don't know, could you answer that?
Yes.
Okay.
There's an easy answer. I am always on the edge of making the unknown known, and that's my journey to the unlimited point of view. Inside my knowingness is everything. I just don't know it until this moment that I need to know it. And that's available to everyone. Inside your DNA is all the information throughout history and how to connect to the Akashic records. What I do when I connect to the Akashic record is, I had an experience when I was 9 years old that opened me up like a gigantic internet pipe. And ever since then, I've been living as a multidimensional, multifunctional, photonic being of light, simultaneously aware of all of my other existences in all different worlds. And they're aware of me too. So it's a collective of many me's. So what is it that I don't know? Do you know the next word that's going to come out of your mouth in a fluid conversation?
Right. Well, you don't have to. You just do it.
You don't have to. So what is in my what do I not know? Anything that hasn't been asked to me in the moment that I haven't been talked about. And do I forget stuff? Absolutely. I've done over 4,000 hours of radio interviews. I can tell you there's plenty of things that I forgot. Plenty of things that are vastly important to certain people in certain areas of galactic history. But to me, they're not relevant to my greater growth unless in this moment of now, somebody's specifically asking a question that relates to the collective of people that are listening, past, present, and future, and how that information, when properly translated in the sacred neutral point of view, can expand your perceptions, your perspectives, and the layers of your wisdom, your own inner wisdom. As I said, I'm right on the edge of always making the unknown known, and I don't have fear of that.
Yes, we call it risk-taking, the risk-taker position. You're always in the danger zone.
I kind of even limited those words out because nothing is dangerous to me anymore. I've seen things that are the worst of the worst in the Akashic records because it was necessary for me to see it. Because I maintain a very neutral perspective, none of the charge or polarity from the experience sticks to me. So there's a different perspective when you are observing the information from what it is from many different points of view.
That's agreeable. I agree. Now the other thing you said was the second question. You talked about the karma, basically, and the contracts that we have with people and things, and on our end, we call them tap lines. They're just basically, and a lot of them are unconscious. Most of them are unconscious agreements because, like you say, we could have made these in the fetus, when we were in our mother's womb. So a lot of these things are holding us back, and we're not as aware of we could be. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious if you could. You said you'd be willing to do a reading. Well, I was wondering if you could see. I'm associated with a number of guides, and I work with a number of guides, and I wonder if you could see them or name them or maybe discuss them and see what you see.
Okay, so the way that I work when I take a slice of time of a person and then translate it back, it's all about what form of pattern recognition is created. So right now you have two different collective of beings that are working with you. One collective of beings is a hollow earth group who is trying to, let's just say, bring a new layer of understanding of what galactic politics really looks like. And they work with you at a very physical level and try to connect you to people who must also understand what galactic politics really is, and that certain politics have certain religions within them and all sorts of other subcontexts. You also have another group of beings that are working with you who will just call that another form of collective, who are trying to help you understand that life is a journey of joy and happiness, but humanity isn't aware of the journey of joy and happiness, and that the journey to joy and happiness is a challenge for people in this world because of the layers of programming that are many thousands of years old. And they're trying to help you understand that joy and happiness and politics of the underworld, they have to mix. And those two groups come together and can create councils, can create organizations that help you disseminate the vast volumes of information that are out there based off of your listenership, your viewership, whatever books and stuff that you write. And it's not just who's reading them now. It's past, present, and every potential being who's ever going to witness any form of your material in the future. And these types of beings that are working with you are quite aware at some point your material is going to do that whole bell curve where it's going to take off. And they're trying to guide you to that day the bell curve takes off. Through your knowing this, through the, let's just say, encouragement of the journey that you're on. Now, on a more, let's just say, specific layer, you have a variety of beings that are trying to help you create, how do I put this? A new form of spiritual prayer that is based off of the awareness of what was done to humanity over about a period of about 35,000 years. And this slice of 35,000 years is important to understand that there are off-world beings, past good and bad and neutral, and on-world beings, good, bad, and neutral, all creating a massive soup of miscreation. And what they're trying to say is at 32,000 years, somebody put too much pepper into the soup. At 9,000 years, somebody put a whole bunch of onions in the soup. At 2,000 years ago, some really smart being came back to 35,000 years through time travel and tried to erase the whole soup. So they're trying to explain to you all the different versions of soup that are now bubbling to the surface now in our time. So whether it's Syrians, Arcturians, Pleiadians, all of them have whatever spice they've added to the soup, and your guides are trying to say, well, this group used this spice, this group used this spice, this group tried to wipe everybody's spices out. Does that connect you?
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Just one more question, and I'll let Claudia speak. What about Rebazar Tars? Does that what do you get from Rebazar Tars? You see anything?
Can you spell it? Can you spell it?
It's Rebazar Tarzs.
All right, so that is what I call a light construct organization from off-world beings, generally from Sirius Alpha and Sirius Beta, who then transit into Sirius 3. I don't know if you're aware that Sirius split into two, and then those two that split realized that they should have never split at all because they created a rift in time-space realities, and then they created a third Sirian collective of beings who try to balance what the light and the dark were doing through DNA engineering. And this group is trying to help you understand that humanity also must go through a separation and a realignment to the great threes, the law of three, instead of the law of one or the law of two, which most people have no idea that there's law of two, law of three, law of four, law of five, and all the way up to the law of 29.
Okay,
before
thank you.
Exit out of this dimensional awareness.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.